The Auburn Industrial Development Authority monthly meeting, a regular meeting will come to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Lacy,
Here.
Mr. Andre,
Present.
Mr. Cuddy,
Here.
Mr. Giannino,
Here.
Mr. Beer, Mr. Beer,
Roger.
Got it. I'm here. Thank you.
Ms. Valentine, Mr. Danis.
Taylor, there's some background noise going on, so we
Yeah.
can't hear what's going on.
Somebody turn the water off.
Okay,
Okay,
Ms. Valentine,
that's much better.
Mr. Ramos,
Here.
Ms. McIntyre,
Here.
Mr. Gasper.
Here.
Okay,
Okay, the minutes of the December 15th, 2021 regular meeting. Is there a motion to accept them?
So moved.
Second, please. Come on.
Second.
Is there any discussion or changes to the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, carried. Bills and communications.
so for this month, we have the Q4 2021 along with the fee shares, so they're combined. So the admin fee to CETA will be $34,116.52. The fee share by itself was $29,092.34. So the math in that is our income for the year was $195,303. The expenses were $49,841.32. The difference of that, which is subject to the fee share, is $145,461.68. And 20% of that is what goes to CETA, which is the amount of $29,092.34. And then we also have the final pilot disbursement. And that total amount was $544,988.54. And all pilots have been paid. They were paid before the end of the year. So no one received a fee this year.
Okay, and everybody met the deadline, I see.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a motion on the floor to accept the bills and communications?
So moved.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I have a question, kind of a nickel and dime type question. And I haven't referred to the agreement, but I'm sorry, it's part of, it must be part of my training, but
I will
under
move.
under the expense side, in terms of this calculation of the 20% CETA share. And again, I mentioned to the board last time that this is consistent with last year to some extent. I guess I might say that we always want to be paying something like this because that means that we've exceeded our normal revenue budget and had a better year than we had anticipated. So I would say this is a good thing. Okay. But the question I have is on On the expenses, we're showing contract services of 15,000. And I guess I would say that, the higher the expense, the less we have to pay to CETA, but just take that for whatever it's worth. I think the contract services number should be 20,000 in the calculation, which would increase the total expenses to 54,000. And the net ordinary income would drop to around 140 instead of 145. Does that make sense? Anybody's looking at it? Because basically what's happened here is that the fourth quarter contract services amount isn't actually paid till January. But, without getting into too much mumbo jumbo, we probably should accrue the additional 5,000. And I can check in the agreement. We can do this next month. Well, I guess we're trying to agree with approving this invoice. But
So if the board would like, we can pay this next month, if that's what you would like to see, the 20,000 there. I can bring it back.
does anybody know that the technical answer there is whether the accrued amount should be included in the calculation? All we're
Yeah,
talking about
it
is
would
that,
be 20,000.
It would. So
Yeah.
what's happening there, the impact then is that instead of the CETA share being 29,092, it would be 28,092. Because basically you would lose 20% of the 5,000 would not go to you, would not go to CETA. Okay. So do you want to get that resolved and we'll approve it next month, or what would, not a big deal, but I just wanted to point that out. Does anybody understand what I'm saying? So
It seems like this will benefit CETA, right? If we did it that way.
no, it won't.
No, it would take from, no, it wouldn't.
Okay.
So,
They would
So
lose
that's-
$1,000 out
Oh,
of it.
boy.
So
Oh,
that's-
that's too bad. I don't know. Like,
that shows how well I explained it by coming up with that comment. So, but basically, yeah, we $5,000 of our expenses is not included in that calculation, Terry. So therefore, the amount, you see how they, the subtotal there in that little box to the right, nicely done, by the way, the 145,000.
yes.
460, you multiply that by 20% to get CETA's share. And instead of multiplying it times 145,000, you would multiply it by 140,000.
Got it. I got it.
Okay, so. Does anybody else want me to talk about more accounting details? It's
Well,
pretty-
no, but
No,
thank you for
understand.
your diligence, Roger. Very, very, very helpful to the
Yeah,
AIDA
Roger.
organization.
yes, sir.
I understand what you're saying, but there's a carryover from last year. There would have been a carryover from last year. Wouldn't that make it moot?
Well, that's a very good question. That's why we probably had to look at it, because if it was done in
So
a similar
last year,
calculation.
Roger, last year, when Tracy put this together, she went ahead and added the 20,000, so your report reflected 20,000. This is
Okay,
directly from QuickBooks. So last year
Understood,
that
yeah.
was adjusted on Tracy's end. If you would like for me to adjust this and subtract $1,000 out, I can definitely do that. And then we can just sign it when I come see Jim, if that's how everyone would want this to happen.
that's what I would recommend. I mean, since my explanation of the calculation is just gone over so well, I think we can probably accept it as is. Now, you see what I'm saying? I'm only kidding, but it's a $5,000 adjustment. Therefore, CETA gets 1,000 less.
But I guess I'm still at a loss because there was a carryover from last year. From
Well, no, see what's happening, is what Taylor is saying, as I understand it, maybe this would be a good test to see if I understand it. Last year, the calculation was done And the expenses used for contract services were the entire 20,000. Because basically the calculation was done where it wasn't taken exactly from QuickBooks. So for the purpose of our calculation last year, there was no carryover. Okay, does
Correct.
that make sense, Jim?
Yeah, I see now. But if there
Yeah.
was a carryover, it'd be a moot point, right?
Yeah,
sorry, say that
well, you know, I mean, and I'll make this very interesting now, but if there was a carryover, the number out of QuickBooks would have been 20,000. So believe me,
Okay,
you know,
let's go. I
It's about-
motion to adjust it. So
I
that
knew it
our-
was, yeah, I knew it was time to get rid of me.
Yeah,
So
no, Roger, thank you so much. I motion to adjust it the way our treasurer has.
Terry, you're gonna have to amend the motion, because the motion's on the table to accept both.
Okay, I choose to amend, I motion to amend it to reflect our treasurer's finding and want that to be reflected.
Okay, point of clarification, you seconded the motion? Who originally put the motion on the floor?
Yeah, I guess I put on the floor, so if I
Did
can't,
you-
if I
did you
can't
put it
amend it, then I won't amend it.
Well, if you seconded the motion, you can't amend it. Whoever put the motion on the floor has to amend it. Who's taking
Anybody
the-
can amend it.
Jeff put the motion on the floor.
Pardon me?
Jeff did.
Anybody can amend it. Anybody can amend it.
Okay, well then we'll take Terry's amendment.
I need a second.
Do I have a second?
Oh, yes, I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
I hope not.
Thank you, Roger. All those in favor?
Aye.
Fine.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you. Okay, moving on. The profit and loss.
Oh, no, it's him again? Gee. Does everybody have a profit and loss budget performance in their package?
I don't have a,
Oh, good.
Yes.
I don't
So
have,
I'll
a-
go through it and,
I have a P and L, but I don't have a balance sheet.
okay. You do have a P&L and we'll concentrate on that. And interesting enough is, you know, it acts as a double check for the calculation we just went over, but you can see that in the third column over you have the January, you have the full year. Okay, and ideally, this is, you know, these will be our audited results when the audit is completed in February. But as I said throughout the year, the performance revenues of 195,303, which is the same number that was used in that calculation as well. Not to belabor this too much, maybe somebody can make that comment, but you can see that right now our year-to-date expenses are 49,841. You can see that the biggest item in the list so far was our marketing budget. Our marketing number, which is for the year, was 26,916. We had budgeted 20,000. I believe we had discussed that in the last meeting. So you can see that our net ordinary income is, would be 145,461 for the year. However, and this probably goes to what Jim's talking about. this might be my valedictory or something here, but the 841 in expenses, you can see includes the contract services of 15,000. It would seem to me, Jim, and to the board, is that the 20% CETA share and when the audited numbers are done, you will see that our expenses will be in the number of 49,841 will be increased by the 5,000 of contract services for the fourth quarter and the CETA share of the what is now 28,092. Okay, so our actual income, or I'm sorry, our actual expenses will go from 49,000. They will be increased by an additional 33,116. So in rough numbers, our expenses are going to be 33 plus approximately 100 plus approximately 50. Our total expenses for the year on an accrual basis, which will show up in our audited statements, will be approximately 83,000. Our revenues are 195,000. So our net income, when all is said and done, after audit, will probably be in the range of 112,000. Any questions about that? Any issues? Same thing happened last year where we picked up that big CETA payment and put it in the audited financials for 2020. Same thing will happen here, even though it doesn't show up on QuickBooks right at this moment. Okay. Any problems with that? So again, a solid year, couple consecutive solid years, and we'll hopefully have a similar performance in 2022. Are there any questions?
Is there any way that could be in QuickBooks? Does it have to be changed in QuickBooks?
Well, what you'd have to do is basically do a accrual entry for the fourth quarter contract services of 5,000, and then I would do a separate entry for the CETA share, the 28,092. Again, same thing happened upon audit last year, but that's what to get to QuickBooks where you'd want them to be, that's what you'd have to do.
Well, I'm just thinking in the future, since your game plan is to leave, we should put a note someplace that this could occur again next year.
Okay, good point.
Danielle, could you follow that up, please?
Yes.
Okay, good enough. Is there any further discussion? The December budget report and balance sheet, I believe we put a motion in on that, didn't we?
No, we don't have a motion for that.
Okay, could I have a motion for that, please?
I will move.
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of accepting the budget report and balance sheet? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed, abstentions carried.
Aye.
The pilot disbursement report, we've already gone over that. See the staff report.
In terms of a CEO update, the application deadline is next Tuesday, January 25th. So the committee is still collecting resumes. The committee has not shared with me at this time how many resumes they've received, but they have said that they've received several. They will not start doing any resume review until after the application deadline has passed. And then the committee has stated that they will start conducting interviews in February at some point. The business development specialist position, I conducted the first round of interviews last week. And 3 qualified candidates will be moving forward for a final interview next week. I have worked with the CETA Executive Committee and hoping that we can offer an official approval the first week of February, this person then can train with Meg for 3 days before she exits the position on February 9th. In December, Devin was able to join Karen Cool from the Office of Tourism on a tour of Cuga Milk Ingredients and Spruce Haven Farm during a taping of the CBS Saturday Morning episode featuring the Finger Lakes dairy industry. The story focused on how generational dairy farms were transitioning or changing their dairy farming in response to the rise popularity of plant-based products and milks. The episode actually was aired last Saturday on the 15th, and overall, we thought the CBS did a really good job on this episode. I will be sure to send the link out to the board's committee so you guys can check out the 7-minute episode. Last month, I went in front of the City Council with CETA's proposal for ARPA funding to help small business assistance with COVID relief. The City Council approved the $500,000 proposal where CETA will be administering these grant funds. We're hoping to launch our info sessions at the end of this month and open up the application process in February, with a selection process in March and an award process in April. Essentially, we're looking to administer $20,000 to $40,000 grants to help small businesses in the city of Auburn in terms of COVID relief. So we're really super excited to have this partnership with the city of Auburn, and hopefully we do a really good job, and then we'll be able to administer round 2. I think that's all I have right now for CETA updates.
Okay. The TGW 2022 marketing contract.
So after December's meeting, Taylor, myself, and Devin, who Devin is on this meeting tonight to give an additional update. But we had discussed the questions and concerns that the board came up with last month, and we had met with TGW to discuss the marketing contract and asked them to provide an itemized breakdown of kind of tactics versus time, as well as kind of a breakdown of that $57,000 contract. They did return a updated contract. However, it didn't really answer the questions of the board. So Devin has been working diligently with Lisa and Gavin from TGW to get a schedule of fees. And then also Devin has worked on creating a list of deliverables, because I think that was another thing that came up, was kind of simplifying that. And I'll hand it over to Devin so she can talk a little bit more about that and answer any additional questions of the board. But we did, as of this afternoon, it was too late to send out to the board. They did send us a schedule of fees. So one of the questions that I have, is this something that we can send out to the board afterwards for review? And is it something that can be voted on via email, or is it something that would have to wait until next month to get an official vote on to finalize the contract? In my conversations with Devin and TGW, we don't want to lose another month of contractual services for them to kind of start working on the development of the website. So just kind of wondering, can we expedite this process, or is it something that would really need to wait until next month? for approval.
I think Rob can answer that.
Okay. Rob, you're muted.
Play games on my
Sorry, I had to do stuff with the kids. What was the question here?
So it was a little too late to share with the board, but from TGW, as of today, we got a breakdown of their schedule of fees. And we want the board to review it, but we're wondering, can the board send an email vote on approving the contract, or do we have to wait until next month to officially approve the contract with TGW? What we're concerned about is we don't want to lose another month of them working on developing content and managing the website. So just kind of understanding what's the process. Can we expedite the process?
You can approve it subject to, you can approve the contract, and the only outstanding item is the fees.
That was
Or
one
is
of the
it-
biggest concerns, was that the board last month wanted a breakdown of that $57,000 contract. And TGW, as of this afternoon, provided that schedule of fees.
Okay. Right, it's coming back to me now. You can approve the contract subject to any changes that Jim, with anyone else's advice, and that it can be presented to the board. It wouldn't be necessarily a vote, a formal vote, but you can approve the agreement today subject to Jim's approval of any additional changes. And you can put it to an informal vote after that point.
I have a question to Devin, Danielle, and Taylor, whomever has seen the response by TGW. Do the what you received today, does it seem like those schedule of fees are in line with services that either you've received in the past or are in line with market value? Because ultimately we're paying for $57,000 regardless, right? Is what we're getting for that, is it appropriate, or do you consider what we're getting doesn't equal that $57,000? Just to give us a ballpark. And obviously once we vote tonight, I just want to know in the ballpark where we are. I'm trusting the staff to give us that kind of I guess sense.
Terry, I'm going to hand it over to Devin so she can kind of talk about the deliverables, as she's been running point on the contract. And then I think she can also answer your question in terms to the structure of fees that we were given today, and if it aligns with average prices with a marketing contract.
Great, thank you.
So these are all great questions. I don't know if I have an answer for you on all of the items yet, because I just looked at it today. I kind of want to absorb, the information, take a little more time with it. It's hard to know, to give you an answer on that right now without working with the team. And, like I said, Danny said, I've given them some initial deliverables for print production, for digital media, social media production. There's, let's see, digital search campaign deliverable, also their podcast, the continuation of the Auburn Possibility podcast. I will be completely transparent and say I have never been involved in podcast production. I know some of you here may have. So without giving you the actual numbers, it's, you know, it's hard to say whether I mean, from some of the other items, like their email marketing strategy and the number attached to that makes sense. But yeah, I think it would be valuable for you to see, since you had requested to see these itemized figures before I weigh in on my opinion. I think, you know, if I could even screen share it with you, or we can deliver it to you.
I think that helped. Actually, your answer helped out quite a bit. So here's
Right.
my question. If we vote tonight, basically it's $57,000. Now, a month from now, if after Devin and staff have time to kind of work through and look at the deliverables versus what got the most bang for our buck last year in the initial thing, you know, maybe does it give us the latitude to basically say, you know what, can we not do the podcast this year because the price fee doesn't really fit within our budget? Hey, can we put more of that towards print or social media? Do we have that latitude? Because what I'm worried about is I don't want to vote tonight, and basically by voting tonight, like whatever they just sent us is going to be the like written in stone. Is that clear? I mean, do we have the flexibility to vote tonight and not have those kinds of deliverables set in stone? Is there flexibility? Devin?
Oh, you're asking me.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Like, that's the thing. I think, you know, in general, what, like, from their perspective, this is their deliverables? I mean, can we at some point say like, hey, before, like, can you say the board voted on it last night? You know,
You're asking, can you reallocate line items in the budget?
well, not our budget, but
Well, I mean, in the deliverable budget.
TGW. Yeah,
Yes.
I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can definitely go back to TGW and ask them to alter the costs and the scope that they've delivered based on, you know, if the board wants to remove certain items to, I'm assuming, reduce the cost of the scope. You know, that's something that I can do. You know, like I said, I'm not sure if I should, you know, I can make those calls if you want to reduce the cost.
I don't think we're asking to reduce the cost at all.
Okay.
All we're doing is we're voting tonight. If we vote tonight.
Yeah.
Well, a month ago, we asked for a clarification of those costs, the $57,000. And it's taken them this long to get to us. We're asking them because we do want to move forward with this, but we need some leeway here because for the approval, because we don't understand exactly what the costs are broken down to. We just got it. And so are they willing to show some latitude as far as what we can leave in and what we could take out this year? I think is that what we're asking?
I think I have a sense of what might be happening. Let me see if I can help a little bit. So when we asked for this clarification last month, I think it was because we wanted to be really clear that if we were making a $57,000 investment, that as a board, we fully understand what that investment was going towards. It sounds like TGW has responded with that breakdown. Is that what you're saying, Devin and Danny? Okay.
Yes,
And
I
I
have the
think,
breakdown.
and what I'm hearing, I'm not hearing Terry say that we want to reduce the $57,000. What we're wanting to do, what we want them to do is be agile in this way. That if in the process of doing this work, we are recognizing that something is giving us more value and return than the podcast. Are they agile enough to go with us and say, okay, we're going to stop doing the podcast series and we're going to apply that time and that energy into something that's giving us evidence that's really working for us? So I'm not hearing anybody say it's about the $57,000. We want to know if the consultants will be agile by monitoring performance, and if the podcast isn't delivering what we want, are they willing to reallocate that time
Absolutely.
and any
Thank you.
money related to that to a project that is working for us? Most consultants would say yes to that. And I can't imagine why they wouldn't. And maybe we just want them to write something into the contract that gives us that latitude.
I think they
Gwen, I
do.
was looking for that verbiage in the scope, and I
Uh-huh.
don't see verbiage specific to that type of agility.
Right.
There is verbiage about revisions and edits to changes,
Right,
but it involves additions, not
right.
reallocations.
So my sense about this is that, and I just want to make sure I'm understanding where you all are coming from as staff. So you're saying that there's things that they could be doing right now if in fact this board votes on this contract tonight. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, in our conversations, we are concerned that if this contract continues to remain dormant, it can impact the success of what has been developed thus far, because
Mhm.
you've already invested $80,000. So if we wait in another month, we're
Mhm.
kind of missing that opportunity for them to really start that content development and really kind of building that platform that's really needed.
Got it.
So
Okay.
that's kind of that my question to Rob was the sense of urgency. We don't want to miss out another month. However, because they were so late in getting us that structure fee, it is really important that the board has time to review that and is okay. But I think what, Terry and Gwen, what you're saying is that if we can go back and make this amendment in the contract, that the consultant is very flexible in being able to allocate or change line item throughout this contract, then, the board is okay with that. So I think, Devin and I, we can work with TGW to get that answer. And when we share this updated contract via email, we'll let you know the response. If that's okay.
So if 30 days is too long, what's the right amount of time? Like, what's the turnaround time that the two of you need to make sure that you're not feeling like you're losing your footing here?
So essentially, the revised contract is scheduled to start as of February 1st
Mhm.
and go through till January of 2023
Mhm.
from our last month's conversation.
So here's what I would say to TGW, that if you want to start by February 1st, we need you to reply to this request from the board within the next 24 to 48 hours, if that's what they want, right? I just have a personal philosophy that there should be no quickness over quality. And so this doesn't sound like it's an issue of the total amount of money. It's an issue of, are they willing, as they're monitoring their performance and the outcome of it, if something's not working in the confines of the $57,000, are they willing to, let me use the podcast, not do the podcast, but put more money into some other form of marketing, social media? We just need that clarity. And if they want to start by February 1st, they need to give you that answer within the next 24 or 48 hours, and they should be able to do that.
I think one of the things that's going to be asked, and you said, and I think we all agree that it's not a case of the money, but I think one of the things they're going to ask is, who's going to make the determination that it's working or not working, and ask for the reallocation?
I think that as far as I'm concerned, once we as a board approve this budget and the staff understands what the body of work is going to look like, and they're producing the data that lets the staff know that the project's being effective and they're reporting it to us, I'm comfortable with the staff proposing the realignment of the body of work. And if it's really something that they're struggling with, because Danny and Devin, I think what you're really hearing from us is we want to see a return on this investment, and they've got to produce some data that we all understand, that lets us know that this project's doing what we're paying them to do.
Mhm.
And they're in this business, they should know how to do it, okay?
There we go.
And other than that, I think it's as simple as a lot, that Devin, you will know best, because you'll be monitoring the impact and the return on the investment as well. So primarily, we just need them to answer that question, and if they want to start by February 1st, tell them to answer it in the next 24 to 48 hours.
And I think that's a reasonable
They
request.
should
And
be able to do it.
absolutely. Also, one of the takeaways from last month's meeting was that the board had expressed they wanted to develop an internal evaluation process to be able to track ROI. As you know, this is going to be a multi-year investment. So Devin had came up with the idea, would it be worth maybe developing a subcommittee, a market committee among board members that are kind of taking the lead on developing this internal evaluation process to kind of track the ROI in collaboration with the staff as we're working with TW.
I would say that in my experience, that's not uncommon, that there's like a short-term monitoring committee. And I would like to offer to Devin and Danny that you start to identify what success looks like. And we ask them to provide you with data against your defined success. And then I think if you engage, Terry and I actually worked on helping do the original, looking at the proposal from TGW. So I would be willing to do that. I saw that Terry raised his hand, but I think it's critical for you all to define success to the firm, right? Because they need to be delivering to you what's helping you drive your outcomes. They shouldn't define it. So if you need help, so Devin and Danny, I would say, what do you need to see as the result of this that's going to help you define the success, and then you're going to get them to put the data to that. So I'm willing to help you do that.
Same here.
So I work with TGW as a member of the city's Historical and Cultural Sites Commission. And we're, I think, in the second or third year of a contract with them. And we just received significant funding again this year, or for 2022, from the state of New York through Market New York. And we're going to continue to retain TGW. They just did their annual report to us where they provided a breakdown of all the analytics. It may be helpful to ask them if you could see those, see what they're using as measurable outcomes for historical and cultural sites, and see if they're the same for us, or if we want to tweak those. So they have an expectation at the end of the year, what we're looking for in terms of results. But it was a pretty comprehensive report that they provided to us this month.
It's a great
Sounds
idea.
good.
So I just now I have a question. So with that said, are we saying that we want to let Danny and Devin, with support from Terry and I as needed, to finesse the contract so that it includes this other piece of information before we vote on it? And if the answer to that is yes, Rob, I think here's the question for you. If, let's say that happens within the next 3 days, if they then say to us with a recommendation that we should support this contract with the revisions, can we do that vote via email? Or do they have to wait till our next meeting to do it? To get the
You cannot do the vote via email. You could do it by a Zoom meeting.
Okay.
You could not do it via email.
So they could convene a 30-minute Zoom meeting if they wanted to present us with this contract, and then we could vote on it and they could be off on their journey.
Correct. While we're in the pandemic situation, we could do it via Zoom.
Okay.
But would that have to be a special meeting, Rob? Would I have to convene a special meeting?
It would have to be a special meeting. You can notice it up. You could do it without the 72 hours notice. Theoretically, it would be a little bit sneaky to do it that way.
Listen, we ain't trying to be sneaky. So, well, why don't I make this recommendation? Devin and Danny, if I could, why don't you all do what we're asking you to do? And if you need some help, call one of us, right? Let's get everything together. And then once it's all together, why don't we seek some input from Rob and decide, do we want to push this into a special meeting? And so that Taylor then knows technically everything she needs to do to make that happen? Or is it worth waiting until, since they're not going to start till February, waiting till after our February meeting to start? Whatever you decide, I think can then help you decide whether to convene us on a special meeting. Am I helping or confusing you?
No, I think you're clarifying. Devin and I will reach out to TGW tomorrow. They're pretty responsive, so hopefully we can get that revision tomorrow. Or they might come back and say, no, there's not that flexibility, but I don't believe so. I think there will be flexibility. If we can get that amendment, then we'll send it out to the full board as of tomorrow. And then we will personally connect with you and Terry. And then kind of move forward with Rob and see if we can get something. If we think it's in a good position to develop a special meeting next week, I would like for Taylor to have that decision by Friday so she can do what she needs to do Monday, so we can meet as of by the end of next week.
Okay.
Because that's pretty much all we have is next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I would like to have one more person on that committee, because our committees are historically made up of 3 people, so is
I
there
can-
a volunteer?
Katie, I can volunteer.
Thank you, Katie. I
Okay.
was hoping you would.
Good. All right, so then we'll wait for your response to us, Danielle.
Great.
Okay. Everybody satisfied with that? Any further discussion? Okay, Terrapin property disposition notice update.
Rob, did you want to give this update or would you like me to start?
I can go ahead and give it. Just briefly, we sent out the explanatory statements for the disposition relative to the option agreement at the end of November, early December. I think they ended up being dated as of, given the Thanksgiving holiday, I think they ended up being dated December 1st.
Yeah.
So we sent those out, didn't get anything back from most of the recipients, did get questions back from the ABO. Extensive questions, actually, extensive correspondence with them between myself and the interim director of the ABO. They essentially wanted a completely new appraisal done, which didn't make sense from my perspective, given that the actual sale of the property would occur potentially up to 5 years from, now. So we went back and forth. They ended up just asking for a clarification on how the estimate of fair market value was arrived. Given that the board did not actually rely extensively on the old appraisal, that satisfied the ABO that all the proper things were done. So I have a letter that I drafted to go under Jim's signature to describe the process, sort of using local knowledge and tax records and things like that to arrive at what would be a fair market value estimate as it exists today. And then we would have to do another explanatory statement at the time of the final sale. And they're based on what they've said in the email correspondence, we're going to have to get an updated appraisal, which would be it. I'll go back and forth with Terrapin on this, but it would be at Terrapin's expense at that point to get an updated appraisal at that point, but not now. Because it's going to be more than likely it'll be stale by the time the final sale goes through. So for right now, the headline is went back and forth with the ABO. We basically satisfied them, and we can move forward with the option once we get that letter in.
Very good.
Can I ask a question on this?
Yes.
Should that letter be a matter of public record?
It will be. If someone wanted to foil it, they certainly could.
Okay.
Anybody have any further questions for Rob? Okay, we're continuing to move forward on that, and thank you for your assistance on that, Rob.
Certainly.
Okay. The governance committee, we met this afternoon, and there was three policies that we discussed, the property, procurement, and investment policies. The only thing that we did note was that they haven't been updated recently as they should have been. So we're going to bring them to the board today for updating. And under the property policy, there's a part 2B or part B, 1B. And it talks about the contracting officer. The contracting officer is for a term of 3 years, and no current authority member can serve as the contracting officer. And historically, the person who has done this has been the executive director. The only thing that we don't have in the policy is it doesn't stipulate that the contracting officer has the ability to delegate the duties as listed to staff. So we need to add that in B1. And so I'm going to separate these out and first of all, have a motion on the floor for the property policy with the amendment to part B1. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, please. Second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you. There
Jim.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions carried. The procurement policy, there are no changes except for the date that the last date it was reviewed. The last date it reviewed was today, and the governance committee found no changes necessary. If there's a motion on the floor, please.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Roger. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions carried. The investment policy, I need a motion to accept it as written with the review date as of today. The governance committee reviewed it and found no need for any changes. Is there a motion on the floor, please?
I'll
So moved.
motion.
Terry? Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions carried. Thank you. And the ABO training is January 26th from 9:30 to 11 a.m. Our next meeting will be February 16th at 5 p.m. and it'll be done remotely. If we get this with TGW, we should, next week, hopefully we'll have a meeting next week. If anybody has any conflicts, please tell Danielle the dates that aren't available so she can put that together or to Taylor, so that we can.
Send it to me so I can schedule around the conflicts, please.
Pardon me?
Send it to myself, send it to my email, so I have that, so I can schedule it.
Who don't you have emails with?
No, if anyone has conflicts, to send them to myself and not
Oh,
Danielle.
okay, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you. So if you do have any conflicts next week, please advise Taylor. If there's nothing else, is there a motion on the floor to adjourn?
So
Can I just-
moved.
Taylor, for the notice of a special meeting, it is indeed 72 hours, not 3 calendar days. Just for scheduling purposes.
Okay.
Usually it works out 3 calendar days, you know, given everybody's schedules, being awake during the day and everything like that. But if it happens to work out that 72 hours works with everyone's schedule, then you can use the 72 hours.
Please make yourself available at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
Okay,
Okay, that was it. That's all I had. Thank you.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you.